This is the recipe for Ladyfingers, and the ingredients that we'll begin to use is 4 ounces of bread flour. We'll also be using 3 ounces of cornstarch. We have 6 eggs right here that have been separated. These are the egg whites, but I will show you where the egg yolks are in just a moment. We also have the 6 ounces of granulated sugar, which we will separate as well as we go on. We will only be using a few drops of lemon juice, but you can also substitute this with tartaric acid solution. So we will go ahead and begin by putting the egg yolks with 1/3 of the sugar. And we'll go ahead and whip those. You can do this by hand, especially if you're doing it at home and you don't have 2 mixers. You can do this by hand while your egg whites will be whipping using your mixer. We'll go ahead and put our egg whites inside the mixer and turn this to medium-high speed. We'll go ahead and let them whip until they're nice and foamy. Once they start becoming foamy, start adding 1/3 of the granulated sugar that was set off to the side. We'll add this granulated sugar in very small increments until it is fully combined. As our egg whites are whipping, we will take the cornstarch and the leftover 1/3 amount of granulated sugar, and we'll go ahead and whisk these together. We'll also go ahead and add a few drops of the lemon juice into our egg whites as they are whipping again. You can either do this at this time, add the lemon juice if this is what you are using, or the tartaric acid solution, and continue to let it whip for a couple seconds. Then we'll go ahead and start adding this mixture of cornstarch and sugar, again in small increments, just as we did the sugar previously. But make sure that at this time you take either the whisk and scrape down those dry portions that go up the side of the bowl, or you can also use a spatula and bring them back down just to make sure they're fully incorporated. And right here you can see that our egg yolk mixture has been whipping by hand, and it's very light and fluffy at this time. We're just finishing it up until our meringue is ready. And the way that you can tell your meringue when it is ready, it will be stiff peaks. So just like these right here. And once you see that your meringue is ready, stiff peaks and very smooth and shiny, you can go ahead and clean that meringue off the whisk and take the whisk off of your yolk mixture. We'll go ahead and change to a spatula and start folding these together. So we will go ahead and fold in the egg white meringue into our egg yolk mixture. And the way that we do this, we will add a very small portion just to lighten up the mixture, and then we'll go ahead and start adding bigger increments of the egg white mixture into it. I usually do this in 3 to 4 stages just to make sure we don't deflate this too much. And so just make sure to fold in until each batch is fully incorporated. And once it is all fully incorporated, we'll go ahead and start adding our flour mixture. Our flour has already been sifted previously, but we will go ahead and sift it right over our egg mixture at this time, just to make sure that there's no clumps of flour, and also to make sure that it's more evenly folded in. We'll also go ahead and do this in stages. 3 to 4 stages should be good for this. And once again, make sure to fold in. Do not overmix, but fold in until it is just fully incorporated. Once you have done this and it is fully incorporated, you can start spooning this mixture, this batter, into your piping bag. We'll go ahead and just use a simple round tip and pipe this into a parchment-lined sheet pan. You can also use a silpat. And the way that we will pipe these, we will go ahead and pipe them 2 to 3 inches long. We'll make sure that there is some space between them. When you do this, when they're evenly spaced out, you can go ahead and pick them up individually and use these to line whatever mold or whatever dessert it is that you're using them for individually. Or you can also go ahead and pipe them with the decreased amount of space between each other. Depending on what you are using them, you can also pipe them to be a shorter distance away from each other. So the closer they are, as they are baking and spread out a small portion, they will actually merge together. In this way, you can just pick up a whole line of ladyfingers rather than picking up individually, because they've already merged together. They form one line. And so you can just pick it up and line your mold, per se a cake pan. If you're using it for a mousse or such, this can be a little bit easier. So we'll go ahead and stick it into the oven, again 425 degrees Fahrenheit, and we'll bake them for about 8 minutes. So it's good to check them at about 4-minute intervals and rotate as needed. So once they are done, they will be lightly golden brown. So right here you see our lady fingers. If you open them up, you'll see a nice even spongy texture inside. So you see that aeration that was evenly distributed throughout our batter. We can let these cool and go ahead and use them for our dessert.